How do you look better than 99% of people as a busy person? Today, I'm going over 9 things that allow me to look better than 99% of the population while still being a busy person. The last one took me 10 years to figure out, so make sure you stay till the end to learn how you can incorporate these into your busy life. So just to give you a little context about who I am, I'm an ICU night shift nurse. I've been working for about 1 year. I'm also a competitive bodybuilder on the side. This means that I have a very strict diet, a very strict regimen, a very strict workout routine that involves a lot of consistency and effort. I also love climbing a lot. I love picking up climbing at the gym, bouldering. It's a newer hobby of mine. I love reading. I love playing guitar. I'm currently living in Los Angeles, and I'm actually from San Francisco, but decided to move out here for college and stay out here and just be able to explore the things that I've wanted to do. I also have my own podcast,
Welcome guys to another
and I
episode. Not
also
just
am
any
obviously a
episode, but it is
YouTuber that
the
I'm trying to
episode
pursue
finale
as
for our
a
first
side
season
career.
of Starting
So
Broad.
I'm a busy
So good to
person.
welcome you
I
guys
know
here.
how it's like. And these are the things that I did in order to stay fit, in order to look better than 99% of the people. Let's get into it. Now, I want to mention it took me a whole year of figuring it out on my own time, on my own effort in the night shift position to be able to do all these things that I'm telling you now. So definitely don't take it for advantage. Learn from me. Don't make the same mistakes. All right, now let's get back into it. All right, so the first one's gonna be diet. Diet is so important. To keep this simple, if you don't have time and you're a busy person, you don't have time to cook your meals all the time. You don't have time to be messing around and not sure what you're gonna eat, right? So the most important thing for a busy person in my situation is meal prepping. You're gonna have to learn how to do it. You're gonna have to learn how to weigh your food if that's something that you're serious about. If you're a little bit more casual about diet, don't worry about that. Just focus on having a high protein diet. This means having about 1 gram or 2 grams, sorry, 1 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, right? That's going to be very important for building muscle, for improving your cognition. And ways that you can incorporate this is just going to be having meals that are really easy to make. So for me, right now, I'm actually having some chicken and spaghetti. Chicken breast, I tend to bulk prep pretty much for the week so that, especially once I head into my shift of 3 in a row, I'm making sure that I have enough spaghetti, I have enough chicken breast. That's just what I'm eating these days, to last me the 3 consecutive days, because I don't want to be cooking in between my shifts. I work 12-hour shifts. I sleep in between those shifts, and I want to make sure that all the time that I do have in between those shifts are spent either resting or working on other things. I don't want to worry about cooking because cooking is time consuming. So if you can bulk cook, then you're going to save so much time in your schedule. Some other easy ways to get protein are protein shakes. You can get protein bars, grab and go. You can, like I said, bulk prep meal chicken breasts, and you can even mix up protein smoothies and Greek yogurt. Those are really good options that I always resort to when I'm really busy, and those are really easy to make. Now, the flip side of that is eating a low fat diet, right? Because we want to look better than 99% of people. We want to be shredded, right? We want to have muscle definition. We want to be able to see the muscles that we're building. So a part of that, an important aspect of that, is being able to be lower in fat percentage, right? And so to keep this simple, as a bodybuilder, obviously there's a lot more things that I do personally to get to a low body percentage. But really, if you focus on eating a lot of protein and eating a low amount of fat, you're going to be okay, right? So just be more mindful about buying low fat foods, low fat cheese, not drinking, too much dairy. Dairy tends to have a lot of fat. Go fat free when it comes to getting drinks outside. Just be a little more mindful, right? Be more mindful about how much oil you're putting in certain foods. That's going to go a really long way. So those things are important to keep in mind. Let's go into the next step. All right, the next one is skincare. So this one's actually a really important step that I honestly never really cared about when I was younger until I started breaking out and having pimples. Now, I still don't have the perfect skin. I mean, I've done a lot of work to get where I am today, and I'll flash up a photo out of transparency, to show you guys like my journey and how far that's come. If that's something you're interested in, I'll make a separate video for that. But these are some of the products I used in a nutshell. Basically, what you want to do is make sure you have a solid cleanser, make sure you have a solid moisturizer, right? You're a busy person, you don't have time to be fumbling with the wrong products. Focus on the things that actually work. If you have acne, focus on acne cleanser, focus on having products that have active ingredients such as salicylic acid, and sorry, that's not focusing, salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide. Those are going to be your hot ingredients that are going to work really well. And then I usually use the spot treatment as well. I'll link all these products in the description below, just for your reference. If I do find affiliate links, I will use them. It does help really to help the channel grow if you use them. So definitely do that if you're interested. But a good skin routine is so important because the first thing people see is your skin, right? It doesn't matter what you necessarily wear or what you talk or how you speak or how you act. What they're going to see is what they're visually going to judge, right? And unfortunately, that's the case. But first impressions are so important in the world today. It's important for you to set a good example of who you are, of marketing yourself, right? Because what you look like, what your face looks like, what your how well you're groomed, right? Which goes into the next part of this is it's so important. So the next part is grooming, right? Make sure your hair is kept, make sure you're brushing your hair, you're shaving, right? And as a busy person, I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I still make time to cut my nails, to get a haircut every 3 weeks, every, 2, 3 weeks. And you'll notice that that goes a really long way in making you feel just confident, making you feel like you're better than 99% of people, because most people aren't doing all these things. Most men aren't doing all these things. And so already doing those things is going to set you apart. Now, the next part of this is making sure that you are dressing well. That's going to be our third step. So how I like to do this as someone who's very busy is keeping my wardrobe very simple. If you think about like some of the most successful people, Steve Jobs, you think of Mark Zuckerberg, Barack Obama, all of these people are known to have very simple wardrobes, right? They have a certain outfit that they like. They have a uniform, they like to call it. And so why this is important is because it eliminates the decision fatigue. Every morning you wake up, you pick up the clothes that you already know that fits you, that you love to wear, and you don't have to worry about it fitting right or it matching. Everything works together, right? And so for me, my closet is a very similar way. I'll show you a little photo of maybe some of the clothes I have here, but I like to stick to very neutral colors. So that means green, a lot of black and whites and creams and browns, because it doesn't matter what you wear, it's all going to work together. And that's the way that I frame my outfits. And I pretty much have like 5 of the same t-shirts. I only buy the same socks. I am very picky about what clothes I buy and what clothes I wear, because I know that everything I wear has to work with everything else I'm going to wear. Now, a little bonus tip here, fragrances, sorry, are also a big part of looking and dressing well. Most men that you see probably don't smell like anything, probably don't use anything. The products that I use that make it very simple, right, are 3 different fragrances. I have one for a daily, I have one for date nights, or special occasions, and I also have one just for like more of like a fresh scent, right? So I'll link these below too if they have them. But the French scent is Zara Goumard Leather. That's pretty much the one I'm using for certain nights. I don't know why that won't focus. Date night is the Dolce Gabbana, the one. This one's definitely one of my favorites. Very creamy, but yeah, it doesn't really act very long, so you kind of have to spray it a few times. And then this is Club de Nuit Intense Man. So I believe this is like a dupe of Creed Aventus, from what I remember. But this is also a really awesome fragrance. And yeah, smell good, feel good, look good, everything in between. All right, the next tip is reading, right? Reading is so important. I think people have honestly lost the art of reading. Just reading for 20 minutes can make such a difference to your confidence, to how you look, right? A lot of people don't realize that, because the way when you start reading more books, when you start consuming content that actually fills your brain and it's not rotting it the way you are when you're consuming social media, like on your phone, and you're trying to figure out you know, like whatever you're doing on your phone probably isn't going to be as productive as you spending time reading really great books, right? So right now, the books I'm reading are The Magic of Thinking Big and How to Win Friends and Influence People. These books are amazing, and books are meant to transform the way you think, right? And so by reading every day, setting aside a time to dedicate to your own learning, to your own self-development, you're going to go so far in life. Just improving 1% a day leads to 37% of improvement over a whole course of year, right? And then if you take that and keep on doing that over the course of years, you're going to be an absolute you're going to be gaps ahead of everyone else in your life. I can promise that. Now, going to the next thing, body language, right? Body language is very important when it comes to looking good. Now, I want you to do a quick example. Do I look more confident when I'm like this or when I'm like this? Right? So I think obviously the second option was a lot more confident. When you want to portray a confident posture, confidence posture is a huge part of that, right? And that means chest up, chin up, shoulders back, right? No slumping. Your spine is neutral. Everything is straight and clear, right? And that emanates confidence. That emanates power. And that's kind of the idea that I want to share, is that it doesn't take a lot to look better. Then you just look around you, most people are having their heads down on their phones, slump back, right? And this is why being able to work on your back muscles, which we'll get into later in a later step, is so important because it ties together your entire physique, your entire look, right? The other thing about poor posture is that it actually increases cortisol and decreases testosterone. Now, what that means is your stress hormone is going up, your testosterone, which is your manly kind of confidence hormone, is going down, right? So, either way, that's not good. So you want to make sure that you have great posture. A big part of that is being able to also walk with purpose, right? And this is our next step. Walking 25% faster, just like a little brisk walk, can actually improve your confidence, right? This is actually something that I learned from The Magic of Thinking Big by Darren Hardy. And this is such a good book. By David Schwartz. This is a really good book because it goes into the idea of the importance of being able to think big. And the bigger you think, the bigger you can dream, the bigger you can act. But more on that in another video, maybe. As a busy person, this is probably like the easiest step to implement, just literally walking faster. You're probably already doing this, having to go from one thing to the next, right? So just walk a little faster, but walk with intention, right? Because when you walk fast, you're walking towards a destination that you're trying to get to, right? And this is when you walk with purpose, there's a certain strut in your step as opposed to someone who is walking aimlessly. And so be the person that is walking with purpose, with walking with confidence. So actually during my nursing shifts, just a quick story here, I actually get up because I work night shifts. So when I start feeling myself getting tired, I'll actually get up out of my seat, and if you have one of those movable wow stations, I'll actually pop it up so that I can work while I'm standing, and then I'll like take a lap around the nursing unit. And it really works. It really works with waking you up, with being more confident, with being more alert. Because there's something about moving our body that is really good for us, right? I think we all know that exercise is important, but even when we're sedentary, even when we're sitting in our office job for a very long time, it's still important for you to be able to move your body, because you should be moving your body all the time, not just when you're working out and then when you're in the office, you're sitting down all the time, right? That's not the way to go about it. And this is honestly how I stay awake. I don't drink caffeine on my night shifts, actually, opposed to which is very, I guess, opposite from what most people do on night shift. I see a lot of my coworkers drink caffeine, but I don't need to, because I have an understanding of how my body works, of how I am able to utilize my energy on my shift. And so that's what allows me to do everything that I can do without the help of caffeine. And I use caffeine very, very strategically, which I'll get into in a different video, but that's something for another time. The next thing is being able to control your stress. So stress control is so important. As a nurse that works in the ICU, I am absolutely always surrounded by stress. It's such a big part of the job. And so it's also part of the job to be able to learn how to manage stress, to be able to learn how to stay calm even in the midst of a very stressful, high strung situation, and to act calmly and to act confidently and to really just slow down and to breathe. And so some ways that I'm able to do that are meditation, right? I meditate, try to do that every day. Some days I miss, some days I don't, but as a busy person, I know that that's something that's important that contributes to my own peace of mind, to my own ability to stay calm and even at work, right? The other thing is being able to journal, being able to write down my thoughts at the end of the day, even though I might be really tired, but I use my journal religiously. I love the idea of having a life notebook that you just write everything into and that you talk about life. And that's just, this is just between me and God. But this has been such a great tool for me to explore my own thoughts, to remember the things that happen, to remember the lessons that I've learned. The next one is going to be sleeping well. And so sleeping well is such an important thing. I think we often push to the side. It's probably like the last thing we even worry about. But a few quick tips here on sleeping. So if you're a busy person, sleep's probably horrible for you. You probably struggle with this like myself, especially if you're on night shift. There's a lot of things that are getting in the way of sleeping. Trust me, I know because I worked for the past year as an ICU nurse in night shift. It is hard, and I understand that. Now, a few things, right? Everybody needs sleep. And once you understand that sleep is equivalent to your life expectancy, you start taking it a little bit more seriously. Now, a quick tip on sleep. So we sleep in 90-minute cycles, right? So every one cycle is 90 minutes. And so the average person needs about 5 cycles to sleep. I'll link the book that I'm referencing here, but it's, I believe, like The Power of Sleep or Sleep Habits, but it's a book on sleep. And essentially, this is the framework that I use to go into my night shifts. So, what I understand is that every sleep cycle is 90 minutes, and for the average person, you need about 5 cycles to really function, right? 5 cycles is about 7.5 hours, right? So every cycle is 90 minutes. So the importance of that is because you always want to wake up at the same time, no matter when you sleep. So if you typically wake up at say 7:30 and you sleep at 12, you get your 5 cycles in. But if you go to bed after 12, then you should probably wait until 1:30 to actually go to sleep because you'll actually feel better when you wake up at 7:30 every day. Because even though you're only going to be getting 4 cycles, it's important that your body knows exactly when you're waking up and that part is consistent because that is what allows your body to circadian rhythm to reset, right? If you're waking up at a different time, that's going to throw your circadian rhythm off a lot. So something I would suggest is play around with your shifts, play around with, if you're a nurse, are you working 3 shifts in a row? Are you working one and then one off and then two? Or are you working 3 in a row, 4 in a row, right? I've literally tried everything. I can tell you what works for me is that I work 3 nights in a row and I have 4 days off, right? That's a good balance for me. I've done up to 5 days in a row and had 8 days off, right? It just really depends on how you work. But from a health standpoint, the more shifts that you can work in a row for nights, the better it is going to be for your health because you don't have to switch back from day and night. Every time you do that, it's very destructive for your body, very difficult for your body to adjust. And so if you can stay on the same schedule, that is definitely preferred. And that brings us to our last tip here about workouts. So this is probably what you came here for. This is probably what you thought this video was all going to be about. But this is an important step, and this is the step that took me 10 years to learn. So let's get into it. So 10 years of working out, I realized that there's a lot of time that I had wasted. And I say that because there's a lot of junk, what I like to call junk volume and junk sets at the gym that I was spending, right? When you go to the gym, you want to be intentional about your time. You don't have a lot of time to work out. So what that means is you want to optimize, you want to make sure that you get the most bang for buck for your time. I'm not in the gym for over an hour these days, right? And I'm a competitive bodybuilder. There's people there that work out casually and maybe just enjoy working out, and that's okay. But unless you really want to be at the gym, then I suggest that you just spend the minimum amount of time that you can at the gym, whether that's 30 to 40 minutes, right? Maybe 3 times a week, which is enough to grow, believe it or not. and just work really hard, right? So some of those things that I really teach and that I've learned in my 10 years of experience is supersets really work. So if you don't know what a superset is, it's basically when you do one workout right after the next. And so you're going back to back with a workout, and that saves you time because if you're doing two different muscle groups, then that lets you work both muscle groups. You don't have to rest in between, and you also get twice the amount of work done in the same amount of time, right? And that's where supersets become very powerful, because when you're picking up two different exercises, that really lets you optimize your time. You're moving a lot faster, and then you're just doing a 90-second to 2-minute rest in between, and then you're doing it all again, right? 3, 4 sets. Push yourself to failure, right? That's going to be number 2. Always push yourself to failure. That's going to be the probably biggest thing that's going to be helping you grow, right? Scientifically, volume is more important. Volume and intensity is much more important than frequency. You can go to the gym 6 times, 7 times a week, but if you're training very easily, if you're not pushing yourself to the gym, you're not going to be growing as the person that's going 3 times a week and training their butt off. Okay, and this is something that I've experienced as well in my own life, and seeing clients and other people work out with a lack of intensity is that's going to be the number one thing that's going to be holding you back. The third thing I want to talk about is negatives, slow negatives. So it's kind of ironic, but in order to grow fast, in order to be able to build muscle fast, you need to work out slow. And what I mean by that is every rep has a positive and a negative, right? If you think about doing a bench press, you're pushing the weight up, that's your positive, and when you bring it down, that's your negative, right? And so a slow negative is essentially you are allowed to explode on your way up, but on the way down of your bench press, I want you to go very slow. Now, the importance of that is that your muscle actually breaks down when you work out. And that might sound like a bad thing, but that's actually the point. That's what allows it to grow, because it grows back stronger, right? And so to put it simply, the most breaking of your muscle happens during the negative of the motion. So meaning when you're going down on that bench press, that's when your muscle fibers are getting broken and challenged the most. So that's important, because the more time, what we like to call time under tension, the more time you spend in that zone of muscle breaking, that's going to result in more soreness, right? And you're going to feel this the next day, but it's also going to result in more results. So this is something I want you to try, right? So once again, those 3 things are: 1, supersets, right? Making sure you're training with good timing, back to back, 2 exercises always. Making sure you're training with intensity, train till failure, right? That means pushing until you can't anymore, right? Continue to go reps until you can't. And the last one, making sure that you have slow negatives, right? Just incorporate those 3. Those are the fundamentals to bodybuilding. I still do those to this day, and those things have allowed me to grow so much faster than everyone else, to look better than 99% of the people at the gym. I kid you not, these things work. You got to trust me. Don't waste your time on anything else. Don't lift with ego. Don't do those single sets. You're only going to be able to grow so much with that. I remember I started working out when I was 13, and it wasn't until I really started competing as a bodybuilder when I was 22 that I started learning some of these things. And so for those 9, 10 years in between, and this is why I say it took me 10 years to learn, because for that time period, it was so hard for me to grow. And I was wondering why. I didn't know why I couldn't make any results in the gym. I didn't see any changes outside of the gym. And I realized it's literally because I was not incorporating these steps. And so they're so important. They make such a big difference. I probably made more progress in the last year or two than I did in the last 8, 9 years of lifting. And I kid you not, that makes such a big difference in your workout routine and in your physique. And so there you have it. That's 9 steps that I do as a busy person to stay better looking, more fit than 99% of the population. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. What is something that you took away from this video that you learned that you didn't know before, right? Hopefully these videos are helpful for you. And as someone who is busy, I gotta go. But I will see you guys in the next one. As always, leaving links below. Now that you're going to be looking better than 99% of the people are probably going to ask you, how do you do it? How do you do all these things and still look so good? How are you so busy? You already know the secrets. It truly is magical when you get all these down and you understand that there is energy still left after 3-hour shifts, and you can still do all these things and still look good and still take care of your health and your family and all the other things that happen in your life. But none of this really matters if you look good, but you don't perform well. And so if you don't have a morning routine already, check out this video right here to learn a little bit more about how you can optimize your routine in the morning when you wake up to optimize to have a great productive rest of your day.